Okay, let's initiate this mission log. Welcome to the Explainer, everyone. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We are venturing way beyond your traditional tech roadmaps and stepping directly onto the surface of an alien world. We're literally strapping in as digital explorers today to map out the Tyaga Web3 ecosystem. And let me tell you, it is complex, it's surreal, and it's incredibly ambitious. We're going to navigate through this massive repository of source documents, business plans, and honestly some deeply bizarre incident reports just to decode how this project is merging high-level decentralized finance with interactive sci-fi storytelling. So buckle up, because this is going to be a really fascinating expedition.
Now, you might be wondering, how does this actually work? Because, the standard music industry model is all about the stream, the playlist, the passive consumption, right? But the developers behind the TRAPPIST-1 project asked a really cool what-if question that basically transforms standard publishing into an intergalactic adventure. Instead of just pulling out your phone and clicking play on an album called The Purple Cover, what if you had to physically explore an alien biome in virtual reality just to unearth it? They're treating the music itself like a forgotten stone or some sort of mythological totem. To actually make that leap from standard publishing to deep interactive lore, we have to look at the underlying blueprint. The immersive lore of this journey actually maps directly to real-world Tyaga business counterparts. So on the sonic front, we have Christopher Cannon Music, and they're providing this wild electroacoustic soundtrack that explorers have to discover. Then visually, Christopher Cannon Art and these wonderfully weird Chuck's Barn NFTs provide the pre-designed, game-ready assets. And finally, the interactive front is powered by the TRAPPIST-1 app itself. That's the flagship hub where users explore this immersive alchemical experience. It's essentially a unified corporate structure, but brilliantly disguised as an entire universe.
But stepping into these alien biomes isn't just about throwing some random 3D shapes into a game engine. The developers laid out these incredibly strict, scientifically compelling atmospheric goals for their artists. They are specifically targeting the aesthetic of an M-dwarf star. What does that mean? It means ultra-cool, dim, really moody lighting. It's a very hard sci-fi approach, and it's meant to make the player truly feel the weight and the isolation of walking across the surface of the TRAPPIST-1e exoplanet. Those visual constraints are exactly what make the environment feel so real and so imposing.
So, how do you actually walk across a dimly lit exoplanet? Well, that brings us to a massive technical hurdle. The original plan was to use an omnidirectional treadmill, specifically the Catwalk C2, so you could just physically walk around in VR. Sounds amazing, right? But there's a catch. The TRAPPIST system is targeting the Apple Vision Pro and Vision OS natively, and the Catwalk, yeah, that's built for PC VR. So to actually survive this biome, our explorers, or actually scratch that, the developers, have to negotiate a partnership and build a completely custom native Vision OS driver right from the ground up. And what's absolutely brilliant here is how these literal developer challenges act as the environmental hazards of our journey. Our explorers aren't just out there fighting space aliens, they are fighting Unity integration hurdles from music publishing tools, they're navigating the extreme complexities of native Vision OS targeting, and when it's time to deploy their Web3 asset ledgers, they literally have to survive 2FA verifications in smart contract logistics. It's just such a smart way to conceptualize the everyday friction of building a decentralized app and turning it into part of the sci-fi adventure itself. So as we continued trekking through the dark, we start encountering the actual visual artifacts that populate this world. Specifically, we're talking about items from the Chuck's Barn IP. The designers made this really fascinating choice to frame their visual art style not just as standard digital items, but as abstract virtues. A 3D model of a goat or a cryptic diagram of a reptile, that's not just an NFT. It literally represents perseverance in the blockchain. What about those Puma moon boots you're equipping? They represent the patience required for interdimensional travel. By attaching this deep, almost philosophical weight to these items, they elevate simple digital collectibles into genuine mythological artifacts.
I mean, seriously, they balance this high-minded philosophy with some of the most incredibly deadpan humor. Just look at this quote directly from the character Chuck. It perfectly captures the comedic, kind of cryptic lore of his barn. It shows how these big life lessons like patience are woven into the very fabric of the digital collectibles, but they're delivered through this completely absurd lens of trying to manage farm animals and dangerous reptiles on an alien world. Like he says, patience really is key when you're negotiating with a goat or a cottonmouth snake. It's basically a treasure hunt of cryptic humor that completely rewards the attentive explorer.
Okay, so beneath all the philosophy and the dangerous space reptiles, what actual cargo are we unearthing on this journey?
If we dig deep into the project's operational documents, we find this highly organized Web3 inventory system. It's essentially functioning as our planetary ledger, and it is the bedrock of the entire ecosystem. Tab 1 houses the music catalog, which generates the publishing leverage. Tab 2 holds all the licensable character and rig assets. Tab 3 meticulously tracks animation files by the hour. And Tab 4? That's the Web3 asset ledger for all the smart contracts. It's this beautifully structured, hidden treasury just waiting to be deployed into the game world.
Let's put this into perspective with some real, concrete numbers. The source materials run a really fascinating calculation. $10,500. That is the concrete, CFO-level financial reality to recreate just one single short film's worth of animated content, and that's factoring in very conservative industry rates for rigging, compositing, and audio. So when you scale that 10.5 grand across dozens of characters, songs, and smart contracts, you realize our explorers are sitting on a massive, six-figure trove of digital assets.
But wait, contrast that massive replacement value with this next number, 6,000. That's it. The internal development notes reveal that the current investment phase for structuring all of this was kept under $6,000. This massive disparity tells you everything you need to know about the core strategy of the Tiaga ecosystem. They are not burning cash to create net new content from scratch right now. No, they are meticulously leveraging their massive existing archive as a reference system and a storefront. The archive itself is their leverage.
All right, red alert. Because an explorer's log just wouldn't be complete without a massive flashing red crisis, right? If we look at a highly classified and honestly pretty hilarious internal incident report in our source documents, the whole ecosystem faces an existential threat, a full system collapse that they called the digital scarcity crisis. Get this, the most valuable, exclusive image files were stored in a server rack made entirely of handcrafted steam-bent blackwood. Why? Because of this wildly misguided belief that analog, physical wood would somehow stop digital hacking. But the real threat didn't even come from hackers. It came from a flaw in their own conceptual physics.
Let's actually walk through the cascading steps of this crisis, because it's wild. First, this massive public distraction occurs. Internally, they refer to it as an FBI cheer riot. This public frenzy leads an exhausted populace to consume massive quantities of corporate Tiaga brand energy pouches. But these pouches have a dark side. They start draining the system's core power source. And without that power, the digital scarcity equation fails, and the exclusive files begin to conceptually fade away, threatening to become public domain. It's an absolutely absurd and highly creative way to structure their decentralized token economics to intentionally fail within the story.
Wait, so what exactly are those energy pouches draining? Okay, get ready for this. PASF. That stands for the public's annual stockpile of festive energy. Yes, you heard that right. In this bizarre universe, the psychokinetic wave of genuine public joy, literally Christmas spirit, is the actual power source generating the value of their digital society. It's such a clever, creative way to make the point that, at the end of the day, human emotion, nostalgia, and community participation are what actually fuel decentralized smart contracts and Web3 value.
So how do you save a system powered by Christmas spirit? The developers can't just rely on some technical software patch. They have to rely on their community. The mission directive states that the Trappist dev community has to collaboratively build a new holiday-themed asset to generate a massive wave of festive energy. That is what will recharge the servers and save the ecosystem. It perfectly proves the foundational ethos found throughout all their documents. Shared creation leads to shared success. By working together to solve a narrative crisis, they're actually triggering real-world royalties and building out their decentralized network.
Which brings us to the end of our mission log, and it leaves us with a really critical question to ponder. In a Web3 universe where storytelling, financial ledgers, and digital art are completely intertwined, where your collective creative energy literally powers the survival of the blockchain itself, what alien artifact will you build next to shape a Trappist system? It is a wild, incredibly ambitious frontier out there. Thanks so much for exploring with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.